Let's get into our third topic, and let's talk about this Jean Grey story that came out over the weekend. So, a new report is suggesting that Stranger Things star Sadie Sink is in the running to play Jean Grey in Marvel Studios' upcoming reboot for the MCU. Now, you already know, if you've been paying attention, Kevin Feige is a huge fan of X-Men. That's like one of his all-time favorite comic books. And I know he's been taking his time in regards of how they're going to introduce the X-Men into the universe. We've already seen um, some iterations. Like, we already saw Wolverine reprise his role in Deadpool and Wolverine. We also saw Beast in, oh my god, what was it? The Marvels? Like, towards the end? Like, we've seen him come up, but of course it was like, first of all, I liked the effect of what they did with Beast, but it was basically Kelsey Grammer's Beast. It wasn't Nicholas Holt's Beast. And I don't think we'll be getting Nicholas Holt's Beast. I think they're going to restart over from the beginning, and they're going to pick a much younger cast. And it basically makes sense with that because we have Sadie Sink from Stranger Things who is up for the role. And I was looking at her, I'm like, that's perfect casting. First of all, she's a natural redhead. She's a cute kid. And I'm sure, but she's probably not even a kid anymore. She's probably like late teens, early 20s. Um, and she definitely gives Jean Grey vibe. Child, anything other than what Joe Jonas' ex-wife gave us, because she did not give good Jean Grey. No shade, but she didn't. You know, Sansa Stark from Game of Thrones. She was all right, but you know, they talk about that she's in the run to play Lara Croft in the new Tomb Raider series. We'll see how that turns out. Maybe she's a better actress there than she was as Jean Grey. But anyway, let's get back to the Screen Rant story. So shout out to them for this story. So it says, Marvel boss Kevin Feige first teased the development of an X-Men reboot in the MCU back in 2019, shortly after Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox. But it's only recently that the highly anticipated movie has seen some huge updates. This includes the hiring of Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes writer Michael Leslie to pen X-Men script. Thank God you're not going after the other guy that was doing them. The other that was writing the scripts for X-Men, because I didn't like a lot of what I didn't like a lot of the X-Men scripts. I feel like when you've only got, out of all the X-Men movies you made, only two good ones, and that'll be X-Men 2 and well, Days of Future Past. Yeah, Days of Future Past was another one I loved. And where we got the oh my god, what was the other one that I liked? I actually like, yeah, I did like when they rebooted it with the other franchise. I mean, when they did the X-Men, the one, not the ones that Bryan Singer was in, because the only good Bryan Singer one, like I said, was the second one. That was the only one I actually liked out of all of the ones that he made. The first one was them wigs was a choice. Some of the lines were a choice, but it was a good kickstart to the franchise. The potential was there, but it wasn't like one of my all-time favorite X movies. X2 is one of my favorites, and like Matthew Vaughn. But I was trying to think of what his name was. So Matthew Vaughn, I did like what he brought to the X-Men series when they rebooted and they brought in a different cast and then merged the old with the new. Where we got to see, Storm, played by Halle Berry, finally get her just due in Days of Future Past. It would seem like everybody was getting what they needed to get in that movie, because all the other ones I felt like were just wasted opportunities in a lot of ways. So, but I haven't seen the Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, so I don't know if that movie was good or not. I'm not really big on Hunger Games because I've always felt like the Hunger Games was a ripoff of Battle Royale. So I never really, I mean, I watched them, they were cute or whatever, but I felt like it was a YA version of Battle Royale. Like I say, even though if you watch Battle Royale, there was a lot of kids in that damn movie. Now, the new report, insider Jeff Schneider, shout out to him, reveals that he has learned that Sadie Sink is in consideration for the role of Jean Grey in the MCU. Now, Schneider elaborated on this tip on John Roca's. I like John Roca too. Shout out to him. The Hot Mic, he does a show on Mondays with Christian Harloff. The Hot Mic podcast. Sadie Sink also has portrayed Maxine Max Mayfield on Netflix's Stranger Things since 2017. Which, sidebar, I did hear that they finally wrapped up Stranger Things, even though Onyx brought that friend to the show, brought that into the news when I last did the show. I think it was on Thursday. That was announced that they had finally wrapped up, but I saw like the pictures online with that they had finally wrapped up the season, and they've been filming that for like a year. So they also said that she's also known for roles in Fear Street, The Whale, and Dear Joe. Or Dear Zoe, sorry. Marvel Studios hasn't provided confirmation of Sadie Sink's casting in the MCU. So that Sadie Sink is in line to be Jean Grey. I think it makes sense with her being in Stranger Things and Stranger Things wrapping up next year. Her schedule is pretty free after that. Those kids are going to be red hot, and Marvel, as we all know, chases heat, right? I think that she is a talented actress and someone who Marvel probably is down to be committed to for the long term. There's no director on X-Men yet. It wouldn't shock me if some members of the X-Men were in Avengers Secret Wars. Well, I think that when it comes down to Avengers Secret Wars and they're already getting that stuff wrapped, I mean, getting that shit running, I do think that they need to, in some way, start picking and casting, some of these members of the X-Men and what they're going to bring. I don't think you need to bring everyone in there, but you can bring in just enough. A couple of the characters, especially someone as powerful as Jean Grey. Now, they said, as pointed out by Jeff Snyder, there is currently no director for the reboot, which means it's curious that the core members of the X-Men team could also be getting cast. Now, it's possible early casting for Jean Grey suggests the iconic mutant hero will be appearing in the MCU prior to X-Men, which supports Kevin Feige's previous comments, hinting that X-Men characters popping up in upcoming MCU projects. Now, actors are currently being cast for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, so Sadie Sink could debut as Jean Grey in Phase 6 crossover movies. Now, Sadie is casting is also interesting as she is younger than many would expect Jean Grey to be depicted in the MCU. This could hint at a younger iteration of the X-Men team being being the first scene in the MCU. Perhaps Marvel Studios will even adapt the small original lineup of the X-Men team from Marvel Comics, which comprised Professor X, Cyclops, Iceman, Jean Grey, Beast, and Angel. A young X-Men team could be at the center of the MCU for many years, developing gradually as the MCU continues to grow. And I feel like that's why they want to go younger, is because they want to be able to lock these kids in for multiple movies. And that's kind of like how they think in regards to doing these films. Now, in regards of Professor X, I heard rumors that someone was saying that, oh, they're probably going to cast Denzel Washington as Professor X. I don't necessarily see that. You know who I was thinking would be a cool Professor X? I was even thinking Giancarlo Esposito would be a good Professor X. I mean, I like um Denzel, and Denzel did have to apologize for spilling the beans a little too early that he had a part in Black Panther 3. So I'm like, I don't know if you're supposed to say that. But at this, and Denzel is pretty good at keeping things close to the vest. But I think once you hit a certain age, and that's 70, you just in this IDGAF phase where it's just like, I just say whatever and I don't even give a good that goddamn anymore. But he's an OG, he's a veteran in the game. People aren't gonna hit him too hard. But in regards to that, I definitely Sophie Turner. I don't know why I can remember that girl name, but I'm actually here for it in regards to Sadie Sink coming in as Jean Grey. So I'm definitely like when looking at her, you definitely see the whole isms of her that she could definitely bring in that emotional vulnerability that Jean Grey has, and because someone trying to find a way to control their powers and keep that Dark Phoenix under control if they decide to go in the direction of a Dark Phoenix. And I would like for them to do that, but here's the thing: we've already seen 2 movies where they have gone in the Dark Phoenix direction, but those 2 movies have been bad. I did not like The Last Stand. I did not think that movie was that great, and don't even get me started on the last X movie that came out, where y'all went into that whole X-Men Dark Phoenix phase, and who y'all had direct that damn movie. And for some reason, the one I cannot remember the director's name off the top of my head. And it's funny because I feel like I see it in my head, but but I cannot just like grab it and it come out of my mouth. Simon Kinberg. See, now I knew it was gonna come. Simon Kinberg. I was like, I see it, I see it, I see it. You know how I be feeling like sometimes I having my Automate Brown moments, like I see it. The letters is formulating, it's coming, but I just can't get it. And it came. Simon Kinberg. First of all, y'all need to fire him as part of writing all them X-Men movies because the previous ones he did was trash. Don't even get me started in that 365 movie that he did. That was another bad one. And then you had old girl Jennifer Lawrence had the absolute nulligated gall to come and say, oh yeah, let's get Simon Kinberg to direct a movie when he doesn't have directing experience. And the movie was terrible. The writing was terrible, and I hated the arc of Dark Phoenix. So if y'all going to do this whole Dark Phoenix thing, and like I said before, that Kevin Feige is a huge X-Men fan, I really need y'all to come in and give us a real proper X-Men movie where you can give the fans what we want. And the good thing is with, Bob Iger at the moment back in power he gave Kevin Feige his power back after the disaster of Bob Chapek. Um, I'm definitely curious to see where they're gonna go with all of this. So, in regards of introducing the X-Men to the MCU and how they got their powers and all that stuff. So I said to say, what do y'all think of this story regarding the rumors surrounding Sadie Sink from Stranger Things possibly up for the role as Jean Grey in a X-Men reboot? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below.